it. We can feel it in our bones. We can feel it in our heart. We can feel a connection to a long ago past, which modern people don't really have much appreciation nor regard for any longer. We don't even study history. We leave that up to the historians, as if history was a superfluous, insignificant event which had no bearing on the present. But the truth is that we need to be connected. We need to be connected to our heritage, our history. Old formations like Stonehenge and the pyramids and the old cities of Siam, they draw us to them. I make a practice of noticing the folds in form, like looking here, looking at these primordial formations. You can see the folds. You can actually even see the fractalization, the kind of freeze-dried feeling of liquid density frozen in time and space. This must be the way Tai Chi looks like when you slow it down and reduce it to the level of an electron microscope. These spaces we see here in the cave or in any natural situation, are particularly good contemplation for slowing down fast trackers, the Speedy Gonzalez types who are too much on the front burner, and if they don't get off, they're going to blow up. To enter into space and let go of our addiction to form is quite a letting go and quite a profound practice. And you can observe that when you're in contact with nature, there's really nowhere to go. You're already there. You're where you need to be. This is it. And that nagging, wanting this and that all the time vanishes. I find this environment really beautiful. There's a sense of delight in the heart when we look at something lovely and beautiful such as this. Something wondrous, something just so pleasant that the heart feels gladness and delight. And here at nature we're looking at something beautiful, directly into a wondrous scene, a lovely scene. It's beautiful, and that's undeniable. But on the other hand, and to keep things in their proper perspective, beauty is not so much a consideration of physical environment as it is an environment in the mind, a psychological environment. Beauty, as we've all discovered, is in the eyes of the beholder. And it's dependent on a preformed, a prejudged, or a prejudiced idea as to what is and what is not beautiful. We need to learn to look through and beyond beauty, not to be stuck and submerged in it. There are some significant factors which nature turns us on to or tunes us into. And when we're settled into a natural and ordinary way of seeing the world, spiritual understanding arises on its own. In Buddhism, we call this spiritual understanding insight. When insight arises, the mind transforms itself automatically into more constructive ways of acting and behaving in the world. These insights are no small thing. They have tremendous power to rebalance our attitudes and underlying assumptions. They stick like mud pies on a schoolhouse wall, if you can relate to that. Usually, in the midst of our daily life, we're spinning around so quickly that we just bounce off of things, and things just bounce off of us, unobserved. And this is quite unfortunate. Inconsequential things come into our life and we totally miss them. Even worse than that, in fact, something that's catastrophic is that we totally miss the consequential things. Nature has the power to help remedy this. Natural spaces counteract our tendency to forget and to dismiss. Therefore, it's the most useful and the most profound space for humans to inhabit. That's why we're so interested, all of us, in preserving the forests and supporting animal and bird life and coral reefs and rivers and all the other ecosystems which are necessary if this planet is going to continue to be a suitable environment for human habitation. Organizations which are established in order to preserve and encourage the biosphere are to be commended. organizations like World Wildlife and the Audubon Society or the Audubon Society, or the Organization for the Reestablishment of the Tibetan people back into their homeland, the people who protect and compassionately have looked after their forest and their animal life for centuries. These people are to be commended. These organizations are to be supported. The world is waking up to the need to take care of this fragile planet. Notwithstanding the fact that I've been talking about all kinds of important spiritual reasons for living in a cave, some of you are bound to want to follow up your first question with this one as well. Well, visiting a cave is obviously a good thing to do, an opportunity to enjoy the wonders and the beauty of nature. Don't you think there's such a thing as overdoing it, or too much nature? I can understand this question as well. If someone has grown up and lived around big cities and their experience with nature has been limited to, say, day trips to national parks and zoos, then their experience has been a bit sterile. Indeed, I can relate to that because that was the extent of my contact with nature when I was a layman 15, 16 years ago. Our need and our relationship to places and spaces in our life depends on what we see as a purpose in our life. Completely in the ordinary world, if we're completely immersed in the ordinary everyday world where ambition and striving for success is where we are looking to find happiness, then we're going to be involved in the material world and we're going to be looking for success and power. In that case, being in nature can be healing and revitalizing, even if it's just for a few days. It's a skillful way to charge one's batteries and go back to the world afresh. And this is a good thing to do. But supposing your purpose is other, a much more noble one. It's to conduct a spiritual experiment or a religious experiment on yourself. With yourself as that which is being experimented on, not looking at guinea pigs or monkeys or rats or anything, but actually experimenting with that which needs to be experimented with yourself, to see for yourself the way things are. If that's the case, and that's where your needs lie, you're going to need to enter into a long relationship with nature, with Mother Nature, a marriage of sorts. Because the path of spiritual unfolding is a natural unfolding and can only be a natural unfolding, we need to live close and in harmony with nature, at least in the beginning. Nature, then, as I would characterize it, is an aspect of what's necessary to have as a background in your life. We can call it the original easy listening station. Once established in a natural environment, we're going to feel a sense of calming and cooling down. The tension which has become habitual we find in our shoulders and our neck and our jaws. These are the places where the problems in our life come up. This is where the source of irritation and hatred and jealousy and fear all begins to come out from us. And we can drop all that. It's possible to let go of all that. And if we can, and if we learn how to do that, we're going to feel a lot lighter and happier and far more alive. So why am I here? Why am I living in this cave? Because it's cooling and because it's calming. There are many things one has to put up with when they live in this kind of environment, in a raw environment like this. But that's just the way it is, isn't it? One must enter into spiritual practice with enough resolve and enough determination to meet and overcome all challenges. If there weren't all kinds of challenges put in front of us, there really wouldn't be much happening. It really wouldn't be the right track. We'd be off the mark. Why am I doing this? What is my purpose? I live like this in order to develop and to maintain a spiritual life in the most resolute fashion that I'm able to maintain, so that the possibility, indeed the probability of reaching the fruit of Nibbana, of enlightenment, is available. and in front of me. I'd like to talk about 4 or 5 aspects of spiritual practice which will be of use to you all. Taken together, they expand on the questions that we've been dealing with. What is my purpose for living in the cave? And indeed, what is any spiritual seeker's purpose in living in an environment such as this, in an inwardly inclined lifestyle? There are 5 aspects which I'll talk to. Since they all begin with S, we'll deal with them together. Slowing down, solitude, silence, stark simplicity, and sacredness. Slowing down. When we embrace the idea of slowing down and live with solitude and in silence, we do so in order to come to that which is most important to us, to allow that which is actually apparent, which we miss, to jump into the foreground and come out of the background. Usually the most important inner voices, those which are our most significant teachers, are trampled upon, run over by the chaos of everyday life. But if we give ourselves some psychological room where the mind doesn't continually run into the same hardcore stuff, we find that the mind turns towards that which it needs to understand. The mind, our mind, turns around and begins to look inward. It reflects upon the matters involved in this dilemma of living a human life, and the reason we have a body and a mind in the first place. It reflects on the fact that we're born. And this is an event which we need to really acknowledge deeply, an event we should contemplate often, sit on and think about, not from just one side, but from every potential side you can think of, and as many angles as you're able to,